Assalamu alaikum. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli waj'al li waziran min ahli Haruna akhi ushdud bihi azri washriku fi amri kay nusabbihaka kaseera wa nadhkuraka kaseera innaka kunta bina basira. Rabbana atina min ladunka rahmah وحيي لنا من أمرنا رشدا ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم وصل اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين. All right, welcome dear friends. Inshallah, we will continue our discussion from the 24th word, where we are reading the beautiful fruits on how to live with belief in this life that we have. So last time we discussed a little bit about what the Muhammadan light, which is the message that you and I can follow, what the message that he brings on what to make out of our existence, why are we here in this world, why the universe exists, and seeing all the beautiful signs, realizing them, becoming a true universal human being. We kind of discussed about the universality of our worship, the glorifications to the numbers, so we can keep increasing those numbers to see that each and every being is being taken care of by the Lord of the universe. So it's not just my existence, but the existence of each and every particle, every being that human beings can take into account. Okay, so we'll continue with the third fruit. This is, by the way, page 372 in the book, if anybody has the book and is following there. So, O soul, if in a brief life you want to do something that will profit you infinitely in the hereafter, profit you infinitely in the hereafter, and you want every moment of your life, every moment, to be as beneficial as a lifetime. And if you want to transform your habitual actions into worship, so habitual actions into worship, and your heedlessness into awareness of the divine presence, follow the illustrious practices of the Prophet. Peace and blessings be upon him. For when you apply your actions to the rulings of the Sharia, it affords a sort of awareness of God's presence. So the Sharia affords a sort of awareness of God's presence. So your action becomes worship of a sort and yields many fruits for the hereafter. I'll just update this. Your action becomes worship of a sort and yields many fruits for the hereafter. For example, you bought something. The moment you applied what is acceptable and required by the Sharia, acceptable and required by the Sharia, that ordinary act of shopping acquired the value of worship. Recalling the injunctions of the Sharia calls to mind revelation. That's interesting. So when you practice or follow the Sharia, the jurisprudential rules or the whatever the Islamic laws are, should call into mind the revelation. And by thinking of the lawgiver, and then you start revelation goes to the Lord of the universe, the lawgiver, you are turned towards God. And that makes you aware of his presence. That means in applying the illustrious sunnah to your actions are advantages like making this fleeting life the means of gaining an everlasting life which produces eternal fruits. Heed the decree. So believe in God and his messenger, the unlettered prophet, who believes in God and his word. Follow him that you may be guided. This is from the Quran, section 7, verse 158. فآمنوا بالله ورسوله النبي الأمي الذي يؤمن بالله وكلماته واتبعوا لعلكم تعتدون. Try to reflect comprehensively on the effulgence and manifestation of all of the most beautiful names, whose manifestations are diffused. It's an interesting word, diffused within the ordinances of the Sharia and illustrious Sunnah. So even following the rules and the Sharia can become worship if we are aware and bring in the belief aspect to them. So don't just follow basically the halal and haram without the recognition of the injunctions of the Sharia, who the lawgiver is, who is the Lord of the universe, who is the owner of the food that you're eating, or in Sharia following, if let's say somebody's getting married and then following the Islamic rulings and Sharia in that should also recall revelation, or if you're buying a property or giving a look, I don't know, inheritance, distributing that. So all that should recall into mind the owner of the of that thing that you're interacting with, the lawgiver. So the purpose is to get to his presence. So there's a lot in this fruit actually to how to live in terms of the habitual actions that we do out of habit. So there are many things, actions that we do out of habit. And isn't it wonderful if we can make them into worship, right? So habitual actions, turn them into worship. And even turn your heedlessness into awareness of the divine presence. So I think maybe we can discuss this a little bit, how this kind of can be done. Sounds very beautiful to turn your habits into worship. Once we engage with our human side, our abilities that are given to us, and realize why we are here. But while your hand is up, go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum. So I thought I'd just go ahead and something came to mind is, I understand from what I understand, just like you said, I think the author's trying to say is like even within your everyday life and every action, everything that you do, find like meaning and purpose behind it. And I think in practice, it's a very, very beautiful concept. But I feel like when you try putting it like practically in like into like you try this in your actual life and And like, let's say you leave the after we're done with this halakha, you go and you try implementing it. Maybe you're successful for like the first 20 minutes, and then after that you forget, right? And I think Brother Ali has said this a lot, and honestly, it's so true. It's the idea of like familiarity, because like let's say, for example, I think I'll give the example of eating, right? Maybe the first time you eat with consciousness, you're saying, you're reflecting that the entire universe was needed to make this single apple, and every bite you can like reflect on how the sustainer is sustaining you. But then, like by the time you're like on your second apple or you're almost done with your first apple, you've already forgotten because you've gotten familiar. And so I like what I definitely agree with what the author is saying. It makes a lot of sense. But how do you? I think the biggest enemy to this is definitely like familiarity, as we've discussed so many times in this halakha circle. What would be like the way to combat the familiarity? I think we get a little hint from the author if you scroll down just a bit. Yeah, at the bottom, that last part is to say to reflect comprehensively. I think that's kind of like the hint the author is giving. Um, from what I understand, it's like that's one way to combat the familiarity, but maybe one of you guys are have seen more success, and so you can share your insights because I don't know. Ever since Brother Ali mentioned it, I've really been thinking, and I realized yes, familiarity is like a huge problem. Um, but it's in like in our life, right? Every time you try focusing on something, there's always like 10 or 12 other things that are there to distract you.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that point about familiarity. You're right, actually. That's one of the main things that hinders us from reflecting. And also, he's talking to basically our spirit in a way, the author, as we say, oh soul, and reminding us this life is brief. So, yes, I mean, we do forget with the familiarity and the habits that we forget that this is a brief life. We are guests here in this world, traveling, visitors. We're not here permanently. And then, of course, our consciousness tells us things are just leaving us, right? So we have to reflect on that as aspect, and then how do you make these little small moments of your life eternal, give them an eternal aspect. So, and then continue on with the transformation of your habits, of your habitual actions, also make them into worship. But I would love to hear from Brother Ali. Please go ahead.
Well, as I was taking notes, and there are many in this paragraph. Now, of course, familiarity problem is a different subject. Here, the third fruit, first, uh, of course, mentions about everybody is aware that transferring the habits, our human habits, into worship, which is a great benefit. I'm not doing anything extra. What I have been doing, just consciousness is realized or is required. What is this? This consciousness obey the prophet's sunnah, way of practice, prophet's life. I mean, I see no connection apparently. Why? Because when I obey the prophet's life, I am obeying the prophet, following prophet. Whereas the verse says, no, 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 you are not following the prophet. He is an unlettered person. He is not making it up for himself, his own wisdom. No, but he believes in God and his word. That is why he is presenting it to you, presenting God's word to your world, to your life, practical life, so that when you practice as sunnah, which is transferred to you originated from God, transferred to you by the prophet, so do it. For example, why should I put a piece of cloth on my body? Or, I mean, nowadays, usually people think that women covers her hair, especially, I mean, it is beyond dispute now. People are almost not full, but almost naked. Nowadays, the weather is hot. And anyways, why should I put it? Everything is hot. So prophet practiced this and asked to his wife to do this, etc. When I obey this tesettür, or I mean covering the body according to human dignity, and of course praying, doing some certain actions, what am I going to benefit from it? Now we usually ask, what is the benefit? Benefit means a worldly benefit, or reason, I mean the wisdom. What is the wisdom in it? Whether you put it or not, you cover you bow your head or that. Isn't that a matter of heart, for example? But this very interesting, you also bolded, when you apply your actions to the rulings of the Sharia, it affords a sort of awareness of God's presence. Not that when I do something, it makes sense to me or something. No, if we do it, as it is transferred to us through an unlettered prophet, it means I am obeying God. Not the wisdom is not because when I fast, this kind of benefits happens, I remember poor, etc. This is very simple-mindedness. But when I fast or do something, or according to, as the example says, this is sunnah to do this. The simple thing, it immediately brings a sort of awareness of God's presence to my life. So rather than asking, what is the wisdom in doing this? What is benefit? Cutting your finger, for example. It helps cleanliness. The one says, I continuously clean my hand, even use something protects from germs, anything. So I am healthy. I don't need to cut it. No. The matter is not being healthy or not. Matter, for example, I do brush my teeth, either as a habit, health, teeth health, tooth health reason, or practice sunnah. When I practice sunnah, means he is referring God's command to me, God's preference to me through my exemplary life, because he educated me. So I am obeying God. Every day I brush my teeth. It is just for the sake of becoming aware of God's presence in my life. I belong to the owner of the universe. Nothing to do with material benefit and rationally making sense. No, rationally making sense, because this action, when it is done in the form of obedience of the prophet, it becomes awareness of God. That is how the transformation of habits into worship happens. Now, I got this third fruit from mainly three, four not wisdom, not worldly benefit, and I'm not obeying the prophet's personal preferences. And when I practice the sunnah, in fact, I am bringing God into my life and making sense of my existence. I belong to the absolute being. This is practical side of it. But ideologically or intellectually, I may be aware of it, but as Muawiyah said, when I don't practice it, it becomes habit. And when I don't do it, my life becomes a habitual life, but consciousness says, yeah, I know I am created by God. That is an excellent transformation I found, and I want to share it with you. This physical practice must be a means of breaking the familiarity. Continuously, I am obeying God's command. So bringing God into my life. Thank you.
Thank you, inshallah. Yes, God's presence, source of awareness of God's presence in our life. So when we are combing our hair, brushing teeth, all these things can become worship, alhamdulillah. It needs awareness, actually, as well, consciousness. I think it's a beautiful way of living if we start implementing this. And this is coming basically following the Prophet so that I am guided. His practices, the Sunnah, Sharia, and the illustrious Sunnah. So this worship is basically diffused within the ordinances of the Sharia and the Sunnah. All right. Any other comment on the third fruit before we move on to the fourth? Okay. O soul, do not look at the worldly, and especially the dissipated and the unbelievers, and be deceived by their superficial glitter and illicit pleasures. Do not imitate them. For even if you do imitate them, you will not be like them. You will decline immeasurably. You cannot be an animal even, for the intellect in your head becomes an inauspicious tool which constantly beats you over the head. Even your feelings, your senses, reasoning will constantly beat you, will bother you about why you're doing some things. For example, there is a palace, and in one of its large apartments is a powerful electric lamp. Small electric lights which branch out from it are attached to it have been divided among its small apartments. Now someone touches the switch of the big light and turns it off. All the apartments that were connected to that light are plunged into deep darkness and desolation. Now another palace has small electric lights in all its apartments, which are not connected to the large light. If the owner of the latter palace, to this one, which is every apartment has its own light, presses the switch of the large electric light and turns it off, there may still be lights that are on in the other apartments by which he can carry out his work and which will not allow thieves to profit from the darkness. All right. So, O soul, the first palace is a Muslim, and the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, is the large electric light in his heart. Okay, so this analogy on the surface looks like as if the second part looks much better. Everybody has their own light, so you don't depend on the first light. But this analogy has a purpose in terms of explaining how, if the practice and not following or the significance of the Prophet, the message of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, is not adhered to, is not taken or not considered. So if he forgets him, or I seek refuge with God from Satan the accursed, he expels him from his heart. He will accept none of the other prophets. Indeed, no place will remain in his spirit for any perfection, the complete emptiness, darkness. He will not even recognize his sustainer. All the apartments and subtle faculties in his nature will be plunged into darkness. And there will be a terrible destruction and desolation in his heart. How will he profit in the face of this destruction and desolation? Where will he find familiarity? This familiarity is a different usage here. What benefit will he secure which will repair the damage? Now, if everything is dark and disconnected, nothing seems familiar in terms of, nothing makes sense. Or in heedlessness, desolation. However, Europeans resemble the second palace. Even if they cast out from their hearts the light of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, lights of a sort may remain, or they suppose they remain. They may continue to have a sort of belief in their Creator and in Moses and Jesus, peace be upon them, which will allow them to attain good morals and character. O my evil commanding soul, if you say I am not a European and I want to be an animal, so of course, by using the term European, he doesn't mean from the continent of Europe, but the ideas, the ideology of not having the message of the prophets that one can use or benefit from and follow it. So if somebody just wants to be an animal, I don't know who would want that to be an animal. How many times have I told you you cannot be an animal? For there is intelligence in your head, and it strikes your face, eyes, and head with the pains of the past and fears of the future, and beats you. It adds 1,000 pains to one's pleasure, whereas animals receive pleasure without pain. So first pluck out your intelligence and throw it away, then be an animal. You will also receive the chastening slap of, like cattle, nay, they are further astray. Not even like cattle, even worse than cattle. which is a verse from the Quran, section 7, verse 179. So this is the fourth fruit. So I underlined a few sentences which I think we can discuss on. Right, so if anybody, Brother Ali, would you like to share anything on this fourth fruit before I go?
I think understood. Everybody knows that if somebody who was brought up in a Muslim community, that he and at the end he ends up rejecting religion, it means rejecting Islam, which is brought to us by Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. He cannot believe in other prophets at all. But a Christian, we all know that this is simple. I mean, a Christian doesn't believe in Muhammad, but comfortably believes in Jesus. And you see that those people who believe in Christianity and practice it are definitely better off than those who don't. They are more human. They enjoy their life more compared with non-believers, etc. That is the difference, and the author is speaking to Muslims. It's obvious, inshallah. I don't know if our friends want further discussion, maybe.
All right, thank you. Yep, any friends would like to discuss any points? Right. So human feelings, human intellect are there to remind us. And the example of, not having revelation or guidance, what does that have? What would that bring to human life? Which is one can deny, as Brother Ali was saying, the reality of this universal, or they can believe the believers of Moses and Jesus somehow can improve their life with good morals and character. I think it's understandable. So definitely there's the need of guidance and for human beings to make sense and live with a purpose in this world. Without guidance, no place will remain in his spirit for any perfection. Yeah, it's a horrible situation to live in without guidance or the revelation or the prophetic example. All right, let's move on. Brother Ali, go ahead.
Just a small point. Have we noticed that those people who don't believe in Christianity among living in Christian communities, areas, or believe in Judaism and there are the same goes with Hindus and Buddhists as well. Don't fight against Christianity. Don't try to bring evidence that Christianity doesn't make sense and there is no conflict. Whereas, if we are aware, of course, living in America, you may not be experiencing it physically. So, among the Muslim population, if somebody doesn't want to believe in Islam, they cannot sit down comfortably and I'm going to take care of my life. No, they fight. They try to really prove that Islam, make up reasons according to their capacity, that Islam doesn't make sense. There are faults in the Quran. lots of struggle going on. Go and see the Muslim world. There is always tension and conflict between believers and unbelievers in the Muslim community. It explains the reason why if someone leaves Islam, but being or belonging to Muslim atmosphere, if you like, or community in general, and not want to submit himself to Islam, they are always criticizing, making negative propaganda, and trying to find out any reason to criticize Prophet, to criticize the Quran, to criticize Muslim community. Whereas in America, they don't believe in Christianity, and really, maybe a few exemptions don't bother to prove that Christianity is not right religion. But usually they look, if they are nice people, honest people, they look for alternatives. Whereas Muslims cannot look for alternative, but they fight. That is very interesting. And Quran is full of examples of this as well. It's very interesting. Though the prophets come, they of course representing Islam in their own living conditions, the enemies attack him. The enemies attack him. Whereas in other religious traditions, we don't see that. It's very interesting.
You're right. It's interesting. Why is that, do you think, in a way? Because they can't answer the Quranic, whatever the message is.
Their inside is boiling. They want to justify themselves because they know that they are rejecting the truth. They cannot submit to it. That's why they struggle to make any justification as if a kind of taking revenge. You put me in this position because I rejected the truth. Why did you come to me with the truth? So if it was false, it's easy to leave it aside and take care of your life, like Christians. What do? Honest ones look for another option. But the Muslim cannot look for another option.
Yeah, there's a comment from Suhail. He says there's a lot of money in converting from Islam to Christianity and then criticizing Islam, but not the other way around.
That is a special case, Suhail, if you don't mind. These are a few people, only a few, but they make a lot of fuss about it because it is exceptional. But really, they treat them like sultans, if you like. If a Muslim says, I left Islam and embraced Christianity, it is, as you said. But usually, the subject we are talking now is why Muslims, when they are coming from a Muslim background, but not necessarily they were Muslims or not, but the family structure, environment, relatives are Muslims, and he decides not to follow Islam, it means not to submit himself to the truth. That is his choice. And he doesn't see it. He struggles against it, fights. That is interesting. Why do they fight? Don't believe, leave it then. When I pray, why bothers you? I am doing something, as you said, useless. Yeah, I am doing useless things. Why bother? No, they try to prove that prayer doesn't make sense. What does it mean? And the Quran is full of mistakes, contradictions, make up stories. They cannot sit comfortably. It means they know they left the truth.
Interesting. Thank you. Okay, so Faria, you wanted to ask a question? Go ahead. Okay, Faria's question she posted says, what does recalling the injunctions of the Sharia calls to mind revelation mean? So the author was sharing that when you follow where was that in? Oh yeah, the previous one. The injunction, recalling the injunctions of the Sharia calls to mind revelation. So, for example, I think Brother Lee gave the example of covering the head for a female, covering the head with a scarf should recall. That's an injunction of the Sharia. That should remind actually that I am obeying my Lord, the Lord of the universe. So revelation and the one who is the lawgiver. But I would let anybody else who would like to share anything on this particular phrase and the question.
I mean, bringing the presence of life into in his awareness. That is why a revelation reminds God. Not when we practice Sunnah, we don't follow the person. We are following God's choice, but presented through the Prophet to us. That is why revelation, I understand the Sharia. Sharia means Sharia. It means law, means lawgiver. That it goes to God. That's what I simply understood from it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any follow-up or any other comments or questions that we can take? All right. Let's continue with the fifth root then. All right. Oh, my soul, as we have stated repeatedly, since man is the fruit of the tree of creation, he is a creature which, like a fruit, is the furthest and most comprehensive and looks to everything and bears the seed of a heart which holds within it the aspects of unity of everything, and whose face looks to multiplicity, transience, and the world. As for worship, it is a line of union which turns man's face from transience to permanence, from creation to creator, from multiplicity to unity, and from the extremity to the source, or it is a point of union between the, so worship is a point of union between the source and the extremity. There are many aspects of worship, as the author has been sharing in these different groups. So habitual things that we do, following the Sunnah and the Sharia can become worship. And now here also he's saying some different way, like the turning man's face from transience. So while we are experiencing things and we see that we cannot hold on to those things, but our feelings are looking for that permanence. So turning to the owner, to the one who is presenting those transient things to me. So from creation to looking at maybe the tree or the fruits and going to the creator of that fruit. From multiplicity, so things that are all around me in the universe, to seeing that they are coming from the Lord of the universe, to unity. And from the extremity to the source. So extremity, maybe the human being is at that extreme position where he's the fruit of the tree, can understand the whole universe and his has been made. So from there he can go become the universal being to the source. That's how I understood that part.
Briefly, if you don't mind,
Yes, please go ahead.
I understood extremity is the fruit of the whole the tree of universe existence, and fruit has the seed in it, which is the source of the beginning of the universe. It means the reason for the universe to exist is the source. And what is the reason? Accomplished at the end? Creation of human beings. And human beings has it in his heart, or in their heart, his, her heart, what the reason of the universe was created for. Did I make the picture full?
You're saying in this heart there is the thing which tells why I'm here, what the universe is basically like.
Yeah, what's the reason for the universe to exist? The answer?
Oh, what's the question again?
What is the reason for the universe to exist?
So the reason for the universe to exist.
Mhm.
Yeah, so the answer would be what my responsibility, the worship part that comes in.
Not in this sense, to reflect the
Qualities or
qualities of their
I see. Yeah,
creator, and who benefits from the reflection of the qualities of its creator?
I do.
Yeah, human beings, conscious human beings.
Conscious human being.
Somebody, something else doesn't matter as far as I am concerned. So my heart encompasses all the qualities manifested in the universe and can communicate with them. Now, as if I am a summary, minuscule creature, micro universe in my own existence as far as the purpose of creation is concerned. And the purpose of creation was to manifest the names of the creator. My heart looks for the manifestations of the absolute name qualities of absolute creator or absolute qualities of the creator. So they communicate to each other. That's why this extremity, from the extremity to the source, or from multiplicity to unity. What do you mean? What does it mean? Multiplicity to different manifestations in the universe. To unity, the source is one. That is one aspect. Yani absolute being. So from another aspect, from the extremity to the source, from the fruit, and the fruit has the seed in it, which was the reason for the existence of the universe. That is why human beings is functioning here as a point of union between the source and extremity. So what a very logically consistent structure, but needs to reflect deeply. All of them are saying the same thing.
So the seed of the fruit, what does that represent? That's what my question.
Sorry?
The seed of the fruit
in
this paragraph.
Now, represents the quality, the capacity to comprehend the whole names, which are reflected in the universe. That was the reason for existence, to reflect the qualities, so that all the qualities of its creator, so that the capacity of the human beings are given his spirit, his ruh, comprehend his creator through observing the universe. That's correct. That's what Fariha said. Seed of fruit, human spirit, and seed of the tree of the universe. Again, you can make another equation. The human spirit equals to reason for existence of the universe, seed of the universe. So they really find each other, communicate with each other. That is the wisdom of universe, as it is the wisdom of human beings with this wonderful capacity. The very short way of talking the author is written here. Really, it is wonderful, mashallah.
Thank you, mashallah. Yeah, you're right. Okay, so if a valuable conscious fruit, which will form a seed, looks to the living creatures beneath the tree, and relying on its beauty, throws itself into their hands. If being heedless, it falls, it will fall to their hands and be smashed, and will go for nothing like a common fruit. But if the fruit finds its point of support, I think that's important. If the fruit finds its point of support, the human spirit or the seed of the fruit, as the previous example, as Faria mentioned, the human spirit, and it is able to think that by the seed within it, holding the aspects of unity of the whole tree. The seed within it, holding the aspects of unity of the whole tree. So the human spirit is able to grasp that everything that I see, the whole tree, everything belongs to the Lord of the universe. So you see the unity aspect in there. It will be the means of the tree's continuance and the continued existence of the tree's reality.
Wow. Sorry.
Too much. Then a single seed within that single fruit.
I didn't know the mic was open.
Oh,
So
okay. A single seed within that single fruit will manifest a perpetual universal truth within an everlasting life. Now, this is something I think we can talk, Brother Ali, please. I will let you speak on this.
very briefly, if human beings in general stop acknowledging the reason of existence of the universe, doesn't use their capacity their tools, ruh, spirit, to acknowledge the qualities of the creator of the universe. Is there any reason left? Will be any reason left for the universe to exist? Answer?
No.
No. Then what the prophet says, when there is no believers, that is the time for Yawm al-Qiyamah, doomsday, destruction of universe. Pointless. If there is no one hungry, would you? What is the point in making food? That explains Qiyamah. MashaAllah. And for me as well, if I don't acknowledge the creator by using my human capacity, spirit, for me, universe is dead. Why? Because it becomes just a lump of metal. That's what the materialists think of. It's very interesting. It is their doomsday. Universe exists. What does it mean for them anything? As far as their spirit is concerned, they work on the universe in order to benefit for their bodily needs. Bodily needs, when they die, finish. It's not human needs. It is worse than animate needs, as we read previously. Animals entertain, take pleasure from their life. If human beings chooses to be an animal, it becomes like a kettle, maybe worse than it, lower than it. Like a kelenam belhum adal, lower than animal. Thank you. Now, it seems to be simple, but very deep reflection needs this man is strange. This man is strange. He speaks in a secretive way so that only those who are aware and needy can go into it, work on it, study it, and really benefit from it, inshallah. Inshallah, we all are trying here to benefit from it, inshallah.
Inshallah, you're right, actually, about this author, actually. For example, the way he explained the Sharia and the following the Sunnah to see the presence of the Lord of the universe. I don't think I've heard that from any other person. Alhamdulillah. Like how to make each and every moment as a worship. And another, I think, word text, he puts that whatever goes out of this universe is nothing but worship. Whatever raises is raised to the heavens. So a lot of things to reflect on, to see why. Let's take his actually method is very interesting. O my soul, since the reality is thus, and since you are a member of the nation of Abraham, peace be upon him, like Abraham say, I love not those that set. Turn your face to the eternal beloved and weep the following lines like me. The Persian verses to be included here have been included in the second station of the 17th word and have not been repeated here. So he has a certain, in his previous words or his work, he has a poem-like phrases which makes you reflect on the transience of this world and seeking the permanent existence. I forgot to read the paragraph in the same way.
I was looking for something. Yeah.
Where was it in the same way? Oh, in the same way if man plunges. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Okay. In the same way, if man plunges into multiplicity, is drowned in the universe, and intoxicated by love of the world, is deceived by the smiles of ephemeral beings, and casts himself into their arms, he certainly falls into infinite loss. He falls into both transitoriness, ephemerality, and non-existence. In effect, he sentences himself to death. But if he listens with the ear of his heart to the lessons in belief from the tongue of the Quran, and raises his head and turns towards unity, he may rise through the ascension of worship to the throne of perfections. He may become an eternal man. Thank you, Faria, for reminding me. Yeah, so I think this makes sense. If anybody has any comment, so don't be deceived by the smiles of the other, that they're having fun, and then although within themselves they may be suffering, right? So temporalness, ephemerality, and non-existence. Brother Ali, please go ahead. Brother Ali, you're muted.
Plunging into multiplicity and turning towards unity. Multiplicity, unity, can be understood tawhid and shirk, but as it is explained here, either you see the universe is created by one absolute being, or you fall into each being is in an independent creator, and worship the matter as far as as far as the satisfaction of your soul is, your body is concerned. That is plunging into multiplicity. If I have this, if I have this, if I have this technology gadget, or have this one, I will be satisfied. I will be satisfied. Endless. But spirit is created to turn towards unity. Means I have my creator who is owner of the universe, who is the absolute being. He created me. He takes care of my needs. In this world, by bodily needs, I will work here and there, do something in order to just feed my body. But my spirit, how rich I am, doesn't matter. My spirit doesn't get satisfaction from multiplicity, means pieces of this world. I have to be aware of it. So we should stop. If I had this, I will be better off. If I had this one as well, that is my life. We should be really careful about this plot of ego.
Inshallah. Faria has a comment, ear of heart. The use ear of his heart, is that the human spirit? I would say yes, that is correct. So listen attentively, carefully, make reason about it, make sense of it. So that's how belief gets established. Starts from logical conclusion first, and then goes into my feelings, right? To the message of the Quran. or the prophetic message should bring me to realizing that there's an absolute Lord of the universe that I belong to, and this whole universe belongs to. Okay, or any other comments or thoughts? Okay. So again, O my soul, since the reality is thus, and since you are a member, so be a member of the nation of Abraham. Peace be upon him. Like Abraham say, I love not those that set. So there's this notion of Abraham and the nation, right? There's always this connection. I mean, this is whole prophetic lineage that goes through. You turn your face to the eternal beloved and leave the following lines like me. So any comment on this part of the being a member of the nation of Abraham? Why does the author bring it here in this case? All right. No one wants to share anything?
If 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 you make me co-host, if I am, yes, I'm co-host. So I will share the verse
Sure.
now, inshallah. So very quickly, because time is up. Here, read it.
Behold unto him who brought into being the heavens and the earth, that I have turned my face, having turned away from all that is false. And I am not of those who ascribe divinity to anything besides him.
Yeah. So look at the others. How did they translate it?
Oh my God,
I am not of the polytheists.
that's not
What
good.
does polytheist mean?
Yeah,
No, Assad is better ascribe divinity to aught beside and nothing but beside God. It means this paragraph is written but exactly with the wordings of this verse. And I'm 679. Here, turn towards unity and don't plunge into multiplicity. As the I turned my face to which is ilah, whoever I turned my face to, whoever is the creator of the universe into being, or I would rather say, behold unto him who brought into being. I turned my face to the one who brought into being the heavens and the earth, and I turn away from all that is false. It means I don't plunge into multiplicity. It's beautiful.
this is amazing, beautiful. Thank you for the reference.
Yeah, because it is beautiful from many aspects. Of course, most importantly is what we are reading here, the commentary on the verse 679. MashaAllah, perfectly fitting. So it makes my heart comfortable that I am really reading the message of the Quran in an explanatory way, in practical terms, when I read this person's explanations.
Jazakallah. So Faria is asking something. What's the problem with their translation of polytheists in al-mushrikeen? I think that's what's the word. They are not one of the mushrikeen, right? Which usually is translated as polytheist or not recognizing the Lord of the universe. But so Asa's translation gives the context in terms of turning your face and then realizing that not to be someone who is worshiping the material things, or so it's much clearer to me.
Yeah, because among the Quran readers, commonly known polytheism means idol worshippers. Yeah, what is idol? It needs explanation, of course. What is idol of this day? Matter is the source of its own existence. But they will go to Meccan tribal representative of idols that they make to represent their own tribes or clans. It has nothing to do with it.
Thank you, inshallah. So this is the conclusion of the 24th word actually here. So inshallah, what do you think we should continue, Brother Ali? We can stop here for now. So I'll close and we can discuss. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma alamtana innaka anta al-alimul hakim. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Bi hurmati suratul Fatiha.